if one antivirus is good, then two antiviruses would be great, right? Wrong. Hi, I'm Woody Huffines. I own the NerdsToGo in McKinney, Texas, and this is Tech for the Untechnical. Here lately, we've been seeing a lot of computers that come in that are running a little bit slow. And one of the problems that we see with the computers that are running a little bit slow is hard drives versus solid state drives and older versions of software and slower processors and older computers. But the thing that's easiest to fix, even with a relatively new computer, is someone who has the opinion that if one antivirus is good, two or more antiviruses would be great, and it just doesn't work out that way. Now, I understand the impetus for why people would do that. First of all, it's kind of a belt and suspenders feeling because you've got two antiviruses. You're probably going to catch more stuff. And if you read the Antivirus Reviews, side note on Antivirus Reviews, side note on just about any kind of review on the web, if you go to a web and you are looking at barbecue grills and you want to know what the best barbecue grill is, and you see top10barbecuegrills.com or top10antiviruses.com or top10cellphones.com or top10laptops.com, any of those are not like a Consumer Reports testing thing. 99% of the time, if something is named after the kind of the review you're looking at, like top 10 antiviruses, it's getting paid for by the people who are in the top 10, or probably the top 2. And it's just a way for you to feel good about what they want to sell you, just as a side note. Anyway, even if you look at a really good antivirus review, you'll see that different antiviruses do different things better. Some of them find one kind of threat or are more effective at one kind of threat detection than another kind. And if you add it up, all of them total out about the same. If you look at how many of them deal with this kind of threat and how many of them deal with that kind of threat, and they're good at this one, good at that one. There's probably not a huge difference in the antivirus itself, but because you look at it and one catches this kind of threat and the other one catches that kind of threat, it's easy to think, well, if I get both of them, I'll catch both kind of threats and it'll be great. It doesn't work out that way. As we've talked about before, because an antivirus needs access to everything on your computer. Remember, if you told the antivirus you can't look in this file set, or you can't look at this kind of process on the processor, or you can't look at this kind of program, the bad guys would know where to put programs on your computer or in what processes, because they would recognize that the antivirus wasn't seeing everything. So because an antivirus has to see everything on your computer to be effective, it loads at a very low level. It's the kernel level. It sees everything that goes on the computer, and it also loads into memory. Now, the problem if you put two antiviruses on your computer is they both load into memory, which takes a lot of system resources. Good antivirus, fast antivirus is probably a resource hogger. It's going to use a lot of resources. And the more stuff that it does, the more resources it uses. And we'll get to that in a minute. So the first problem that you have with two antiviruses is you're loading two into memory, because an antivirus has to load into memory to make sure everything's getting sniffed out that needs to be sniffed out. The second problem is not only have you used up some system resources and some memory resources to load two antiviruses, because it's looking at a really low level, sometimes one antivirus will take a file and copy it to a location to quarantine it or to look at it or to examine it, or maybe to send it back to the home office to say, hey, is this a virus or not, to give it back to the researchers. That's just part of what antiviruses do. So antivirus A finds something that it's a little concerned about, so it moves it over into a quarantine file or a quarantine location on your file system. Well, antivirus B, that second antivirus that you have on your computer, sees a computer copying files around without user input, and it goes, oh, wait a minute, that must be a bad file. And it goes and gets that file and copies it into its quarantine so that it can examine it to see what's going on with this file that the computer's changing around, because it's not aware that the other thing that moved that file was an antivirus. And then antivirus A sees this and moves. And you get into this do loop of one antivirus checking the other antivirus's work. So not only do you have the system resources that are taken up by just the amount of memory that they take, but they can start fighting with each other, if you will, moving files around and seeing what the other one's doing and checking checking on the other, and one checking on the first one. So if you put two antiviruses on the machine, it is virtually certain that you're going to start losing some performance, even if it's nothing but the memory load. But then the other little conflicts that happen are a problem. Now, while we're talking about that, I'm talking about antiviruses. One of the biggest problems that we've seen are people who are married to Norton 360, LifeLock, anti-spam, anti-tracking, blah, 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 blah. All the whole Norton 360. We've had, in the last month, 3 customers that all of a sudden lost access to their email. They lost access to their email. They couldn't read their email. They couldn't send email. They had certain websites that were blocked. Their computer was just shut down from being useful on the web, from email on to browsing. And when we get the computer in and look at it, it turns out it's the Norton 360 LifeLock, super awesome VPN, everything included Swiss Army knife of security. And when we uninstall all of that stuff, the computer starts working just fine. It's able to access the internet, it's able to do things, and there are antivirus and protection solutions that might work better than the Norton. The Norton's been causing problems for some of our customers. We got one customer, nice older gentleman, we uninstalled it, everything's working. He goes home and his son tells him, "Oh my God, Dad, you need the Norton LifeLock on there immediately." And he installed it back, and we're going to have to charge him again to uninstall what we uninstalled 2 weeks ago because he keeps installing it, and every time he installs it, it's a problem. So that's the last thing I would tell you about an antivirus. Antivirus solutions, because as we mentioned, go in at a very low level at the machine, and they touch everything on the machine. When you install an antivirus or an antivirus gets updated, that's when you really need to pay attention if problems start, because it'll help you diagnose it, or it'll help us diagnose it. Is if you notice that this problem started when I installed this antivirus, or this problem started when this antivirus updated on Wednesday. That's a big clue that maybe this software that's down really low at the low level of your machine might be causing you a problem. Because remember, computers are still programmed by people, and people make mistakes, and there's no such thing as perfect code. Trust me on this, I know. So, we talked a little bit about antivirus. What do we use at NerdsToGo? Well, our go-to antivirus is called Malwarebytes. There are free versions of Malwarebytes. We monitor an enterprise version so that if you are one of our customers that has Malwarebytes installed on their computer, if they've got a problem, we get a notification, and we can then interact with them to make sure that threat is stopped. And because of the enterprise level of the Malwarebytes, it also allows a 72-hour rollback. So if something bad happens on your computer with Malwarebytes that we're monitoring, we can go back and get you back to where you were, and that's a really good solution. The Malwarebytes free is a good solution. The only problem with free things on the internet, you've heard me say this before, if it's free, if a product is free on the internet, that means that you are the product, that they're using that tool, whatever it is, Facebook, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, whatever free thing it is, to collect data about you. You don't think about it, but that's a privacy issue. It certainly is for me, and it is for a lot of people. So anytime you use something free, remember they're probably going to be using your data. If you have any questions about antiviruses and how to put an antivirus on your machine and what kind of antivirus to use, give us a call at NerdsToGo and McKinney. We'll be happy to help you out. If you found this helpful, you found this enjoyable, or you found it intriguing, hit the like button, mash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so when I have one of these thoughts, you'll get notified, and share it with your friends. We'll talk again soon.